And Genesis is a tantra or tantric master. She is a divine healer. I've been knowing her for many years. I met her in Atlanta, and she was doing she had an event where she was implementing and showing brothers and sisters how to um, connect, not just physically connect, but spiritually connect. And so here she is, my sister.
Hello, hello.
Genesis. Welcome, Genesis. You look so beautiful as usual in your sacred space. Yes, girl.
Thank you.
Yes, so I am so happy to have you on, and you made it. I know you just like got off work and you had to come rush home and get freshened up to be on. No?
No, no work.
Oh,
I'm
that's
here.
right. I forgot you work from home, right? You work from your sacred space.
That's right.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you to give us a little background on what it is that you do and what it is you'll be sharing with us this evening.
Okay, so I am Agenisz Samadhi, a high vibrational coach. I'm also a Tantra instructor, spiritual teacher, mother, and businesswoman. So Bliss Life is a conglomerate of Bliss Life Tantra, Bliss Life Travel, and Bliss Life Realty, which is what we're speaking on tonight as sacred space, right?
Right.
So I've been in the healing arts and a worker of energy for over 20 some odd years, just bringing light to the masses with intentional living, high vibrational living, tools, methods to put them on the purpose of living a bliss life, which means living life by design and not by default, which is what we're going to explore tonight.
Okay. Now I know that you have always, I think you're pretty much known as a poet.
Mm-hmm.
You were doing poetry when I met you, and you had a workshop, a tantra workshop at Cecili's in Atlanta. And that was so I would say life changing, because that was the first time I met you, and just how you presented was really phenomenal. So how did you get on your path of um, you know, making the connection with male female energy or the divine feminine energy?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned my past life of being a tantra and the poet, which is always present. And
Yes.
that at the time I wasn't doing poetry, but because that is my foundation, a spoken word artist, whenever I do a workshop or an event, I always host a poet from that local area. So that night we were doing, I think it was called A Taste of Tantra. So we would always do a meet and greet the day before, and we would introduce people with poetry, with tantric foods, with raw foods, with foods that would stimulate your palate, aphrodisiac, so to speak.
Okay.
But my history of being a poet is really what set the foundation for the work that I do now, because it was the vibration of articulation, right? And of speech and of frequency and of cadence. And so, and it also gave me the confidence to be a speaker, to go
Right.
out and speak to people and to do workshops. And so, going from being a spoken word artist, my poems were very metaphysical, right? They were speaking about 7 feet tall beings, purple clouds, these things that I was seeing in my mind's eye, and it was going over the heads of the audience because they hadn't quite caught up to the times that we're in now. And so I kind of reclused into myself, and I was introduced to the art of being a doula, right?
Right.
And so I've always been a gypsy, always, from birth on. I've always been a gypsy. It's in my blood. I have indigenous blood. My grandmother was a medicine woman and a healer, so I just took it on naturally. So I've always been attracted to astrology, I've always been a moon watcher, a stargazer. And so those things were intertwined into my poetry, right?
Okay.
And so in that, I took a step back and I got to a point in my life that I wanted to have children. I was ready to settle down, have children. And as I started to go through the process of detoxing and preparing my womb and my body to have a child, I was introduced to the world of being a doula, right? Which is being a coach or being a partner to the mother and father as they're bringing life forward.
Right.
Doing that and me getting into that work, I ran across a lot of couples or singles who did not like who they were pregnant by, did not know who they were pregnant by, or was having issues with their significant partner, right? That sparked, yes, that sparked something in me to say, let's back up. How do I get couples before they get to the point of having children that they synchronize in alignment to be on the same path to have a healthy home to bring a child into? So that was my trajectory of being a poet into being a doula into doing Tantra, which Tantra then opens up the door of everything. Because Tantra is not just about sacred sexuality, it's about the 360 of life, right? Which is how you live, what you think, what you speak is everything. So that is how it came to be a genesis of Bliss Life.
Okay. So he said what you think, what you see, and what you feel. Those are the 360 elements that you were working from. So how do you apply, or how has that catapulted you into where you are now in your life? How has that helped you? What are some of the things that you used or practiced to get you there? I know you mentioned astrology.
Well, I am into astrology, but again, keeping with the theme of where we are tonight of sacred space is so important, because before you meet me, before I'm in the streets, before you see me at an event, right, you feel my energy.
Right.
And you wonder, who is she? Why do I get this energy from her? So before I do anything or open my mouth, you feel me, right? That is a direct impact from my home. I'm carrying the energy from my sanctuary with me everywhere I go. So that is what you're meeting first initially, and what you're feeling. And so the Bliss Life is really, it starts at home. It starts with the space. It starts with intentional living. It starts with the vibration that you're in. And that is what has catapulted me into wanting to teach people the methods, the basics of what I do, right? So one, clear space, right? Living a home that is intentional and that is working for you, so that in those moments that I'm human and I forget the knowledge that I have, that I forget who I am, that I forget what my purpose is, my home is intentionally set up as a grid to tap me back in. The moment I cross that threshold, it reminds me, no, Genesis, you know more than how you're behaving today, or you need to get back into alignment with who your true self is.
Right.
You lay down, you rest and rise from your home, from your sanctuary. So that is what propels you and allows you to go out into the world. So that is the foundation, right? My home and how I have it laid out, my altar work, which is heavy, having an altar in your home, having a space in your home that is dedicated to doing your work, your meditation, your mindfulness, just your time to clear your mind and your thoughts so that you can, think a thought all the way through to its end, and you can see that vision come into manifestation. And all the tools that I use on my altar in my daily life. And so I think that is really the foundation of all the work that I do. It starts in my home.
Right. So your inner reflects your outer, and your outer reflects your inner.
100%.
Yes. And so as you place things strategically, do you use Feng Shui, or is something that just comes natural? Because not everyone can set up their home in such a way.
Right. And I think that honestly, I was born with a knack to be
Okay.
able to do this strategically. I have studied Feng Shui. The thing with Feng Shui is we are supposed to, because it's architecture, right? We're
Hmm.
supposed to be able to live in certain directions. Certain directions are more beneficial for us than others. And it
Hmm.
also has to do with where you are in your life. If you need to be facing east versus if you need to be facing west, depends on what it is that you're called to do at that present time in your life. Everyone is not able to be in a situation where they are controlling their environment to where they can set it up in a feng shui way, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
that they can choose the building that they're in, or that they can choose the direction that they're in. So keeping it real basic, keeping it just in alignment with what anyone can do,
Mhm.
you can control what you can control, right? Meaning what goes into your home. What do
Mhm.
you place into your home? How do you set it up into your home? So the goal is to the least amount of friction, right? The least amount of friction, just like within our body. We want the
Right.
energy to flow in a way that there's no friction. So there's no soreness, there's no illness, there's no mucus, all of those things, right?
Right.
So in a home, we don't want things around that we don't need, right? We don't want
Mhm.
clutter. We don't want to become hoarders. We want to have things that are, we want intentional imagery. We want purposeful placement. So things that brings you joy, things that bring you peace. So it's just really about, getting rid of the things that you don't need and having in your home exactly what you do need. And I'm a minimalist. Let me add that to the equation.
Say that again.
I'm a minimalist. I'm a
Okay.
in my life, period. So I don't have debt, I don't have bills, I don't, car notes, I don't have a whole lot, right? So that I can keep my energy concentrated and focused on what it is that I'm wanting to do and what I want to accomplish. So in that same way, in my home, I'm a minimalist, right? So there's not a whole lot going on, but everything is placed intentionally and with purpose so that it's a trigger for me,
Got
right? If
it.
there's a whole lot going on in your home, you're going to miss the pyramid. You're going to miss the crystal. You're going to forget you have the sage. You know what I mean? Because it's so
Mhm.
convoluted and
Mhm.
everything else that's going on. So cleanliness, how they say cleanliness is next to godliness, like
Right.
a clear mind, a clear body, a clear space, it all works in alignment.
Got it. Got it. Now, on your journey or in your journey to unfolding into someone who is intentional about their space, how did you cultivate internally so that that could be, the basis for, how you move in and through your physical home, your
I,
internal home.
I fast a lot.
Okay.
I fast and I detox a lot. And I think that I've become addicted to the clarity that I receive,
Yes, yes,
right? I'm
yes,
vibrating at such a high vibration um,
yes.
that things come to me at light speed, whether it's things that I'm manifesting and calling to me, thoughts, visions, goals, things that I'm trying to get done. It comes at such a rapid speed because
Mhm,
I'm vibrating so high. My frequency has been raised to a level in which I'm out of space and time. It's almost instant,
mhm.
right?
And I've witnessed that with you
For
over
me. And
and over again. I've
yeah,
witnessed that with you. She's like, girl, I'm getting ready to go do this. And boom, by tomorrow it's done. I'm like, wait, how you do that? And you did share something with me one time with the planets. I think it was Jupiter or something. Every hour the planets shift, and so you can use the planets to manifest whatever it is you're trying to acquire. Now, can you give us the breakdown on that? Because that was very lucrative at that time because I was just moving back to Jersey. I didn't have much of a customer base or clientele, and I wanted
right.
to I was doing a lot of things online with other healers, but I wasn't necessarily drawing the income that, well, things take time, but for you, things happen like that. And you gave me a concoction to do, and I was like, oh, okay, I saw results. And
Okay.
yeah, but can you give us the breakdown on that?
Well, I'm glad to hear that you had results.
Yeah.
right? That I need something that was tried and true. And so now we're giving away some free jewels here, because this is going to be in the book that's coming out next year about the Bliss method.
Okay.
And because I'm creating a blueprint for others to be able to do and attract as I have done, right?
Right.
And so it's about focused intention, and it's also about riding the waves of frequency and tapping in,
Yeah.
right? You have to learn how to tap in. And so, yes, it's called Planetary Hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then knowing which planets, what benefactor comes with that planet, right? So Mercury is the planet of communication. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So I deal with Jupiter a lot.
Yes,
right?
that's the thing that you told me to get into.
Thursday is my favorite day because it is the day of Jupiter, right?
Okay.
So for me, if I am going into a meeting, if I am going into a deal, if I'm doing an investment, something of that nature, something that I use a lot with my clients is, say they have an interview for a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will dig into their astrology chart and see, where is Mercury in your chart, right? What is your colors? What are your colors that suit you? And what are your hours? What is your number, numerological number that is a powerful number for you? And we will line that up. So when they call you and say, hey, when are you available for an interview? Because that's what they do now. Now they don't set a time and tell you. Now they ask you, what is the best time? So now you have an advantage, because you can look and you can say, I'm available on Wednesday, right? Which is Mercury-driven communication. So you're going to be more confident in speaking. I'm available from 9:45 to 11. Because now I'm in the hour of Mercury, which is going to give me even more power to speak and be confident in this conversation, right? So your next slot of availability will be Jupiter, because now it's expansion. I'm going to expand on my finances. I'm going to expand on my career. So when you line things up in that way for you, I got an itch in my throat. Hold on a second.
So, yeah, it's very powerful for us to definitely tap into our internal as well as external balancing. And there are so many things that you can do. I like to use the elements, but you have other healing artists such as Agenisz, such as my beautiful guest I had last week, Paris. She taps into the herbs. Then I had Cecilia, she taps into the food. And then I had Sri Master Gano Grills. He taps into our ancestors with the ancestor money. And so the electromagnetic turn up is really about giving you tools and introducing you to various healing artists that can give you tools and ideas as to how to balance your life, especially now with everything the way that it is in the world outside. Just remember, things that's going on outside in the world and that's on TV has something to do with you only if you let it in. And if you let it in, there are ways to balance it out. And these are some of the ways and things that you can use, and tools and practices you can use to balance it out.
Yes,
So,
right.
yes.
So I was at the beach earlier, and the wind is high here in Miami, so I got sand like all in me earlier. So forgive me. But yes, back to the jewels, to the goodness. So Wednesday, right? We're at Wednesday. We're at 9:45. We're wearing the color blue, and we're lining things up to work in our benefit, to where we're setting the deck in our benefit. Or like I say, the chessboard. You're setting the chessboard up for you to win.
Right.
Right? When you do those many things and you do them consistently, and if you know the person's name who's interviewing you, you put that person's name under a crystal, to where you're increasing the energy that is going towards what it is that you're asking for, right? You're setting the attention, you're setting the energy grid to work in your benefit. It's like a boomerang. What you put out into the universe has no choice but to come back.
That's
It
right.
has no choice. That's what it does. That's why if you put out good into the world, good comes back. If you put out negativity into the world, negativity comes back. So there is no good and bad, white and black magic. It just is who you are and what it is that you're giving out.
Tell
and
it.
that universe will mirror back to you.
That's
And
real.
so I learned, that method, and I've stuck to it. And I just kept repeating that recipe and repeating that recipe. And, when I do that and I'm fasting, and I'm using my colors certain days, and so, like I just went and did my works on my altar today. When I do these things and I do them in sync, I'm creating an energy grid around me, right? I'm creating a vortex. Like today is a portal opening. So I made sure that I was on point with my rituals. So knowing where the moon is, knowing where the stars are, knowing the alignments and how you can harness that energy is powerful. So then when you tap into the foods that are harnessing that energy, you're doubling down.
Right.
Then when you're being mindful and you're being in tune and you're fasting or detoxing or chanting or using your mantras, right? You're just drawing energy towards you. So that is how you live life by design and not by default, right? You walk outside and it's raining without an umbrella, because either you looked out the window, you felt it, you sensed it, you smelled it, or you watched the news, which is the latter of the choices, right? But you knew to be prepared. So just the goal is to not go out into life unprepared, right? You have to have the armor on, because when you don't, and you leave home, or you're leaving from a cluttered, non-energetic, frictioned area, you're going to meet friction everywhere you go. At the stoplight, in traffic, on the train, in the office. You're going to be ready for friction, and you're going to respond to it. It's going to keep coming to you, right? But when you are in the bliss of life, when you are in the flow of life, I ride that frequency, that wave in between. So I have enough built up grace to get me through those moments.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So, what would you say to people who are being bombarded with the heaviness of the energetic field that's happening now, with people being ill, or people having great loss, and having to shift and transition into something better? Like, what would you suggest? What would you suggest to someone who's really going through? Because when you're elevating your frequency, when you're going up, there's always a test. There's always a block. There's always a point where you become, I won't say stagnant, maybe stagnant, or just you have to recall or requalify, because you did this thing, so now you have to address it, because now you're trying to get your life right. So what would you suggest to make it a little smoother for someone who's experiencing that? Because I know in my group frequency, we're halfway through our journey, and so a lot of the sisters are being some are being attacked, some are being but it's with things that they need to address, things that they really truthfully need to look at. So, and I tell them to use the elements. What would be your advice or your way of helping people that balance that out when they're in transition?
There's a lot of accountability work that has to be done, right? And at some point, this does become a lonely road, right? Because you do have to transition out of who you were into who you are now, into who you are going to be. Yes. And one of the biggest things in that is not allowing people to hold you to the expectation that they once had of you. Right?
That's a good one.
Because that's not yours, that's theirs. You're trying to hold me in that space and in that person that you knew me to be. So you have this expectation for me to show up a certain way. I don't have to meet your expectation, because I'm literally not the same person I was at the beginning of this call, at the beginning of us talking. I've already transitioned. You see what I'm saying? So someone holding me to the expectation of who I was 5 years ago, good luck.
I know, that's right.
That's
That's
on
right.
you, because I've already transitioned. And so in that sense, we are not obligated in that way, right? But you do have an obligation to self of accountability, because we're always wanting to raise our light. The goal is ascension. And an enlightened being knows that they are accountable for their ways and actions. And so if there has to be a list that you make of forgiveness, of people that you give forgiveness to and you ask forgiveness of as you're on your journey, that is something that you need to do. That is something that I did with my family, ex-lovers. That was something that I had to do in order to move and elevate past that. Now, going into something that you said about loss, and what is going on right now, three things with that.
Okay.
One is desensitizing us to death, because it's happening so rapidly you can't grieve. But two, it is also teaching us to not be attached. Okay?
That's right.
To not be attached.
Yes.
To not be attached to people, things, money, addictions, to not be attached to people. We don't own them, right? It is their journey, and understanding what death is and not necessarily taking it as a loss. There's another thing here, right? So you don't know a person's soul journey. You don't know their contract. You don't know what they signed up for. So some people are having to exit so that other souls can come in.
True.
They may not be able. It could do the so we get to the expectation of why did you, their health. There's so many different things that are going on that you have to just make peace with you, right?
That's right.
So understanding that this is a vibrational attack that is occurring.
It is. It really is. I speak about that all the time. Yes.
It being a bacteria, a sickness, an illness. This is a vibrational war. Okay, fear resonates at a frequency of 4 hertz. Okay, so if you are dealing in low vibration, if you're watching the news all the time, if you're entertaining these conversations, if you're allowing yourself to be judged, or you're judging the decisions that people are making based on this, if you are caught in the fear factor that is going on, your immunity is dropping by the second. Okay, and so you are allowing yourself to be susceptible. I haven't changed anything about my life, and I'm not being irresponsible in any way, but I am still fully living my life in the way that I'm choosing to live. And I have not been sick since 2019. Right? There's moments that come that I may feel a little something coming, but I go right to my cayenne, olive oil, lime, ginger, garlic, and I'm sweating. And in 24 hours, you know what I'm saying? But not only that, but I'm also telling myself, you're fine, you're good. I have a strong immune system. This is a conversation that I'm having with myself all of the time. So again, this is a vibrational attack. And so also having to have the conversation of what were the other factors involved in some of the people that were losing. What was the condition of their home? Not only their physical home, but their flesh home, the sanctuary that they live in. This is the sacred space that you exist within from the time you're born to the time that you choose to leave this body. This is the sacred space that you're in. So how are you taking care of your home? Right? The foods that you eat also carry your frequency, also carry your vibration. So if you were doubling down on low frequency foods and low frequency energy and low frequency people, you are very susceptible to this vibrational attack.
And you are accountable.
Yes, you're susceptible. So, and also something that I do want to say is that just because we are gaining a lot of wealth at this point, right?
Yes, we
Some
are.
are shifting at the same. You have to see at the same time that there is a health crisis, there is a wealth shift that is occurring because people are tapping into this energy and this shift that we're about to move into. And so the gap is getting wider and wider, not only financially, but also spiritually and health-wise, right? Because for those of us who are doing the work and have been doing the work for some time, we were non-necessities at that time. We were lucky if we were able to thrive and survive off what we feel like was our purpose, right? But now we are essential.
Yes.
We are the essential workers because people have been able to, the biggest thing that this has been a blessing in is that it allows your aura to get cleaned up.
Yes,
right?
it does.
Last year, when we had to be away from people, when we had to be out of the workplace, when we had to be in our homes and be with our families, regardless of if you ended up, your marriage ended or you realized your child was not the best child, all those things put aside, you were able to clear up your aura and your energy because you had to separate from people, right?
True.
And so those invisible strings that attach us went away, they dissolved. Some people didn't make it through that. Some relationships didn't make it through that. But that's a good thing because there was a cleanup that had to occur. There was a control alt delete that had to occur, right? There was a program update, a software update that needed to occur. And so in that happening, it's a vibrational shift.
It is.
Right?
It doesn't always feel good. That's another thing too. When you're shifting or when you're in the process of transmuting energy to go higher, it does not feel good. It's very uncomfortable, and it's for a lot of people, it's very uncomfortable, and people feel like they're losing their footing, and it's okay to lose your footing. It's okay to lose it and then regain it. You know, that's what it's for. It's for you to lose something, right, that no longer serves you, and to gain something that's going to elevate you mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially. But if that fear is in there, it's going to take you out. It's because it creates a lot of pressure. And so internally you suffer, and then externally you suffer, and the people in your environment, they all suffer because you're not balancing out. You're not taking in your green drinks. You're not doing your meditations, your affirmations, your bath. These are tools and practices to help you to shift. And so that's one of the things that I try to, share and implement, especially in doing this work. With, the electromagnetic turn up is very important that you keep hearing the same thing coming from different people, because that's going to affirm, because the way you explain it, Genesis, is different from how Paris may have explained certain things, or Tassili, or Gano, and other future guests. So I just wanted to, secure people that no, it's not comfortable. It's not a comfortable ride. And I think that healers, we experience more things to test us so that we can keep elevating and keep, our mental and our physical bodies in alignment with greatness. And it's getting to the point where you see it and you're like, oh, okay. Because you don't even get emotional about it. It's like, okay, this is something's about great is about to happen. That's why this thing is happening, and you do what you can do, right? And you release the rest. You go ahead on and meditate. You go ahead on and take your bath or what have you. But you never stop and you never give up.
No. That's why it's a lifestyle. It's not a quick fix. It's not, a microwave situation. It is a lifestyle. And so you're building yourself. You're building your muscles, right? To immediately react, to immediately respond to what's going on, because you have enough awareness to know and recognize what that is. So this is what I need to do, or this is what I have not been doing. This is why this is happening, because I have not been disciplined, because I have allowed myself, to be mortal for a while, to be human for a while. And so I've given into vices, or I've given into temptation. But a big part of me and Bliss Life is you have to want the victory more than the temptation. So I'll have the moments, right? I'll have my moments that I allow myself, but the vast majority of the time I'm on it. I'm constant because I know the moment that I take my foot off the gas or I swerve in the other lane, it's a collision. And
Right.
it could be catastrophic. It could be tragic. It could affect my children. It could affect my soul journey and my trajectory of where I'm supposed to go. And so once you know your purpose and you know your path, which I'm blessed that I was able to know mine very young, you
Mm-hmm.
have to stay the course. And that is a constant road. And it has been times that it's been full of people and it's been full of noise. And there's been times that it's been very solace and no
Right.
one around, you know? And making sure that you set that armor around you and that third eye, you know, of intention that you can see what's coming, you know, from
Yeah.
people, from situations, going back to the acknowledgement of what part do you play in any situation. So
Right.
as much as I'm a part of the moments that are not so blissful, I'm also very much responsible for the blissful moments. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's all in what it is that I'm putting out, what my discipline is, and where it is that I'm at. So yes, it can be lonely. This road is going to be.
And alone.
The journey is not easy, but
No.
it's about your commitment, right?
I always say it's a long road, but it's not a lonely road because you do meet people along the way that are similar and that you
Yeah.
connect with. And it's always a great connection, especially if you're vibrating at a certain frequency. And, people say, oh, why are you always smiling? Why are you always because that's how I feel. My intention every morning is to get up, and I don't always have I have my not so good days, trust me,
Me
but
too.
it's to smile. It doesn't cost you nothing to smile or to laugh or create laughter. It's a
Mhm.
frequency, it's an energy. I could be going through a multitude of things, but when I'm at work, I'm smiling. And because
Mhm.
that has nothing to do with my business, and me interacting with people have nothing to do with my personal stuff. So I put that
Right.
aside and
Right.
I go to work and I
Right.
smile and
Right.
I compliment people. If it's beautiful, it's beautiful. I think as a older, more mature woman, I see things from a standpoint where a lot of my peers are a little salty or they complaining, and I don't complain. I just do what I have to do. And if
Right.
I make a mistake, I apologize. I'm not, I don't know everything. I try
Right.
to leave my cup I try to leave my cup half full so that I can
Mhm.
receive what other people have to give to me. And they could be younger, they could be
Mhm.
older. And I think a lot of times, just knowing who I am and having done enough work on me and realizing that this work will be ongoing until breath leaves my body,
Yeah.
until breath leaves my being. I just
Yeah.
might as well get comfortable and enjoy the ride, right? And
Right.
I appreciate the good, the different, and the not so good because they actually complement one another.
Right. For
The
sure.
only way that you're going to know something is good is if you experience something not so good or bad, so to speak. And the only way that
Well,
you can,
we
know
find out
the
who
difference.
we are and who we're not.
Yes,
You
yes.
know? Yeah.
So I think with that understanding, um, it's unveiling of the lower part of ourselves, and
Mhm.
like you said, having the tools to fortify yourself and protect yourself as you do unfold, and
Mhm.
because the unfolding never stops.
Right.
You may take a breath, you may take a moment and fall back, but then you got to get back up there and you got to keep on peeling. Because one of the things that I would say I've experienced is that, and I won't say it was a mistake, but I learned about myself. I wanted to have, I realized that what I would do sometimes is I would dumb myself down
Mhm.
for people,
Mhm.
right? And I always knew being an artist, you're a little ahead of your time because you think differently. What is
Right.
you think with your right brain
Right.
mostly, and so I can create something or come up with an idea that's fantastic, and then drop the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm accountable for that. I get the lesson for that. But
Mm-hmm.
I can always pick it back up.
Right. Right.
So
That's a big thing, is that, not to cut your wisdom,
no,
but
no, it's good.
I think that that's important for people to hear, because there's times that I write a poem or I have a business idea or something, and I am gung ho for it at 9 a.m. I'm like, this is it. At 11 a.m., I'm like, nobody wants to hear this shit. This is so
Right.
to maintain that momentum. How do we stay in the flow?
Yes,
Right?
because sometimes,
That's difficult. That is a difficult thing. And that goes along again with your surroundings, the people, the food. Like, how do you stay in
Mhm.
that constant resonance of moving forward, and not allowing yourself to collapse in on yourself? We're human,
Right.
and it's art. We come up with ideas and different things all of the time, but having good people around you that
That's
you can
good.
then tell that to, and then reverberate back to you that that's good, that's awesome, and push
Mhm.
you,
Yeah,
that's a big part of that success as well,
yeah,
right? Is having your tribe, and
yeah.
having a tribe that will support you, and that you can speak whatever your vision is out to them.
That's true.
Journaling, writing it, getting it out, speaking it into a voice note, so that we don't forget what it is our vision is. But that is a part of the Bliss method, and something that I want to help people with as well, is how do you maintain the focus? How do you maintain the drive? How do you maintain the vision long enough to see it come to fruition?
Right, right.
That's a good one.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
being celebrated is really important. A lot of people that I've met, and I've learned this recently from Sri Master Gano. He was like, so how many people do you know can give you 10 grand? He the money guy. And I
Right.
was like, I had to think about my friends that had money. He was like,
Right.
okay, that's like about a good 10. He was like, so
Right.
how many of them can you call right now and get
Yeah,
five
I'm gonna
grand
give
from
it to
to
you.
help you with this project over here? And I was like, who?
That's a
Maybe,
different.
yes. He was
Yeah.
like, so you need to be with those two or three people that would do that for you, that celebrate you, that honor you. And if you
Right.
don't have that, well, then you need to like move away from those circles and
Right.
stop wasting your time and get with some folk that's doing some things.
Right.
You are so right.
100%. Or get with yourself, and for people who know me or who've been watching my journey,
Mhm.
relocating here to Miami, going back to having the conversation about 2020 allowed us to remove ourselves from people, right? One of the biggest catalysts in my victory, in my journey, I had to clear the canvas. I let a lot of people go. And
Mm,
in it's been less than a year. It
right.
has been less than a year. And everything I set out to do has been
Done. Done. Done.
accomplished. You know what
Right.
I mean? And it's not just, oh, I finally sat down and did it. No, I finally removed negative opposing energies, whether they were conscious of the fact they were opposing or not. Energetically, that
Mhm.
energy still exists.
Move them from your space.
Yes, from my space. You no longer have access to me. And going back to your comment about having to dumb down your energy, you
Mhm.
know, I wasn't allowing myself to shine at full wattage,
Right.
because I didn't want people to get caught in the shadow, to realize you're not in the light, you're in the shadow.
Mm.
You're
Yeah.
receiving
You
by
want
grace.
people to come with you, or who you think that you're people, but they're not.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and we had a round table meeting of, what do you want to do? Who are you? How can I help you facilitate who you are? Right?
mhm.
Some people at the table had an idea of what they wanted to do. Some people didn't. But when it got to the grit of actually actualizing those things and realizing there's no one here really supporting me, guess what?
Right,
I gotta
right,
go. You know what I mean? Because I can do bad by myself, so to speak.
right.
But it's and that part is painful, you know, because we're loyal to people. I was loyal to the years of the person that I had relationships with. Not to say that they had been good to me that whole time, but I was loyal to the years. You got to be loyal to yourself and loyal to your journey,
Yes,
right?
that's true. And you
So
have to set your boundaries.
yes, you have to, and also understanding, you know, certain boundaries that you put around yourself encage you. You have to set yourself free, you know, set boundaries to where people don't allow people to use you or abuse you or take you for granted. I was taken for granted was my situation in a lot of situations. But not just that, but also the things that you have not allowed yourself to do and not allowed yourself to flourish, and realizing you've encaged yourself instead of protecting yourself, and remove those boundaries as well.
Right,
Right?
right.
So that you can fly and flourish. And so I finally, for me, am in a place where my outer world reflects my inner world.
Yes,
It's a match.
it does.
It's
It
a
really
match
does.
energetically, and it's allowed me to manifest quicker, faster, you know, because I'm on a grid. I'm on a grid. It's like the meridian points in your body,
Yeah.
right? You don't want the friction to flow. So I've caught, you know, that meridian point on the planet that's allowing me to, you know, do what
That's
it is I
right.
need to do. Yeah. So in
So,
that same way,
so Genesis, tell us a little bit about, because I've been to your home, and every room looks like I'm in a hotel, including her boys' room. Their room look like mini apartments. Like, how do you do that?
you know, again, for me, it's intentional. So I think that my home is a sanctuary, right? It's called Bliss Sanctuary. And in the same way, I feel like my body is a canvas, right? It's like art. I get to print up on it every day,
Right.
right? So my ideas, my visions, my goals are like my paintbrushes. And so I painted my home. You know, how do I want to feel? What is the energy that I want to absorb myself in? And being that I'm a world traveler and I go to all these different places and I'm like, oh, I like this. Oh, I like that. I want a little bit of this. I want to feel like I'm in Jamaica here, and in this area I want to feel like I'm in Panama. So I just, you know, from different places and different energy, along with certain colors that stimulate me. I'm really big into being feminine.
Yes.
Right? Divine femininity. But because I have two grown men in my home, also striking that balance to where they don't feel, you know, effeminized out in one room. So keeping the balance of things that just represent tranquility and peace, right? And so the goal, because each one of my homes have been my masterpieces. They've been like my art, right? So for this particular home, the theme and the move was spirituality and luxury can coexist.
Okay. I like that. And that's how it feels when you walk in your space as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is the embodiment of Bliss Life. Bliss Life is spirituality and luxury coming together, coexisting and vibrating in one place. And so this is the reflection of that, right? So the smells, the color, the texture, the feel is of luxury, but you have spirituality, you know, mixed into every component of the home, so that energetically you're being bombarded, you know, you're being bombarded with luxury, with bliss, with, you know, it's just loving on you. whether you're in the kitchen or the bathroom or the living room or the balcony, you're being loved on.
Right. That's how I felt as well too. So
Yeah.
before we get off the call, tell us what about your book. You had mentioned something about you have an upcoming book and or
Yeah.
program.
Yeah, so we're in the stages of editing, or not editing, but outlining and drafting how we want the flow of the book to go. But the book is basically Bliss Method, right? How to live a life by design, right? Not living life by default. What are the tools? What are the resources? What are the steps to be able to live life blissfully? Being that I just did it myself. In less than 45 days, manifested my vision, my home, my journey, my move. You know, it's fresh to be able to deliver it to other people in real time, what I did, how I did it, and how I was able to manifest it. And a big part of that component that I don't want to leave out is before I made the transition here, I went to Mexico for December 21st, 2020, right? I went to Fashionista. And when you walk up to the temples, right, you don't have to be religious. You don't have to be Buddhist. You don't have to be a Mayan. You don't have to have any affiliation with organized religion. When you walk up to the temples, you feel it. It's the overwhelming power that comes over you, that you know God exists, that the universe exists, that there is a higher power, something higher than us, vibrating at a level higher than us, that is controlling things and loves us and wants us to tap into it, right? So when I walked up to the pyramids, tears immediately came, right? And I went to the temple with one goal in mind, and that was to do a ritual so that me, my children, my children's children, and my children's children's children would be taken care of.
Yes.
Through abundance, through prosperity, that through my bloodline and my DNA, I would spark them, right, into a higher level of being. That I would be able to download them with the tools and the gifts that I've been bestowed with to give that to them, right? And so by the time that I did that ritual and made it back to the States, it was already in effect. It was already in effect. And
you are a very powerful sister. I've seen you do some things. I'm like, huh? You like, yeah, girl. I was like, okay, so how'd you do that?
You know what it is? Of course, there's methods to it that everyone will create their own, right? But it's the conviction. It's the conviction that makes things happen for me and for others the way that it is. Like how people were homeless and they became a superstar. They were convicted that they were going to be that superstar, that they were going to meet that level, right? And so for me, my conviction and my repetition of using the same recipe of manifestation, I'm addicted to it. In the same way I'm addicted to fasting and detoxing and, and being a canvas of art. Like I do this so that another stranger walks past me on the street and smiles. Right. Because I know I just bless them in that way. There's an exchange that's occurring. And I love that. Right?
That's right.
I love being Oshun in these streets and just blessing people with beauty or the way that I smell when I walk past them. That's an art.
It is. A lot of women have lost their femininity. They don't understand the power that we have just at a glance, just at a bat, like, just how you smell, like you said, and all that has to do with sacred space and being a part and cultivating sacred space within and without. So I noticed a lot of other women in different cultures like India, Africa, like Nigeria, those women are really into aesthetics. Yeah, I don't know what's going on inside, but outside, they know how to drop a man to their knees, and that's a power. You can use it for good, bad, or different reasons. So, that's something that I feel like we really should tap or get back into, because you know, you could put something on and not have a dime in your pocket, and somebody will give you some. You know, and you
Right.
don't have to do nothing but just stand there and look and be your beautiful self. And so
Right.
I think that that's where we need to be heading, and that's the mindset we need to carry with ourselves on a
Right.
daily. You know,
Right.
no one can do anything to you that you don't allow.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, the Bliss Method and the Bliss Life, the book that is coming, is just teaching people the tools, the resources, you know, the goals to how to manifest the life that they truly want, right? So optimum input creates premium output,
Right,
right?
right,
So that's your life, your home, and it's also your partners and your lovers. You
right.
don't want to put an 87 man or woman in a 93 operating body. You know?
Right. That's right. So,
Yeah.
but Genesis, before because we getting down to the time, I want you to give us your information, your contact information, and how we could reach you for consultations, or you know, if you have a website or anything like that, where we could keep up with your book when it comes out.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So, Agenisz, my name, Agenisz Samadhi, is on all of my social media. AGENISZSAMADHI on Facebook, underscore Bliss Life, Agenisz underscore Bliss Life on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you'll find all the information about me in those links in those places as well, for workshops, virtual classes, the book coming, all of the products that are going to be coming in 2022, the journals that will help people organize their lives and get some structure going on so that you can manifest what it is that you
Yeah.
want in your life as well. Yes.
Manifest, manifest, manifest.
Yes. Yes.
So yes. So I really appreciate you, sis. You've always, when I was like, Genesis, can you always there, and I appreciate that. And I just want to say I love you, and I look forward to coming to Florida maybe after the new year or
Yes.
something.
Yes.
And so we could link up and do some things and connect again.
Yeah, we
So
got some work to do with the ocean. So
yes.
take care of
What would
yourself.
be your last words
My
to the listeners that's on right now? What comes to you?
whatever it is that you're wanting to do, whoever it is that you're wanting to be it, do it now. Do
Yes,
not allow, you know, worry, hesitation, fear, anxiety, none of those things to intercept. You have to get on the other side of fear. And on the other side of fear is everything that you want.
that's
So
right.
then you have to block out, you know, other energies, TV, news, social media, people,
Mm,
Netflix. You have
mm,
to fast from those things and get in
yeah.
tune with who you are, tap into who you want, and walk into that. That's all you have to do. And everything that you want will attract to you.
Yes, Ashe and Twine's her. I appreciate you. And so we're getting ready to close for this evening. I want to thank you once again, Genesis Sumadi, for coming on and sharing your wisdom, your divine wisdom of manifestation and sacred space with us. I just simply adore you, admire you. And, you know, you have always been someone who I could come to and just, you know, and we come to each other actually throughout
Yeah,
the years.
yeah.
And, you know, it's always been a good time, a good look, and a good conversation. So
Yeah.
I'm very proud of you, and I want you to
Thank
keep up the
you.
good work. Until the
I
next time, everyone, live well, be well, and love yourself always.
live life blissfully.
Yes, live life blissfully.
Peace.
Peace.